Hey guys, it's Tiffany Dawson here, and with my special guest, Daniela. We wanted to do this video because we find most teenage girls really annoying nowadays because they don't know the difference between crushes and love. So we're here to clear it up because we want to give you our opinions about it because there's a big difference between loving someone and being in infatuation with them.
Okay, so where do we start off?
So first off, when you start liking someone, you call it a crush. And
that's something sometimes it takes a while to realize. Like, sometimes it usually just starts out with little, like, when you're just thinking, sometimes you just randomly think about the person, but then you put it aside. But then you start thinking about it more often, and you're like, okay, I think I might be liking this person. So that's when you realize you're starting to have a crush. That's how I feel, because that's how it always starts with me.
Yeah. And what I find is, like, if they're not doing anything for you, like, you're always their second choice, but they're always your first. That is, like, when you know, like, that's when I think that you know that they don't like you. Because, like, so let's say you're doing all this stuff for him.
I feel like I may notice that.
and in the end, he does nothing for you, ever, without being asked. And, like, that's what I think hurts the most in crushes, because, like, you just have, like, all these feelings for them, and, like, there's always this hope that, oh, they could like me back. And when really it's like,
it's not gonna happen.
No. No.
I learned my lesson.
Yep, and I'm still, like, have a little bit of hope, but I know it's, like, gonna die soon. But, yeah. And, like, what really bugs me about most teenagers now is they're like, oh my god, I've known him for 2 weeks, I'm so in love with him.
It's not true, because, for one, most people also would, like, it's not true, because it's like, for one, it's only been 2 weeks. Sure, you may be texting them all the time and everything, but it doesn't mean anything. Because, sure, you might see them as more, but the other person might see you as just a friend. And, like, not only that, I think a crush should develop later than that. Because that way, usually people, like, start to like others either for looks or if you have a lot in common. Usually. That's my opinion. But I think the looks part is rather ridiculous, but yeah. You know what? Keep talking, because I'm going on a rant.
But, like, when you say, like, it's really annoying to me how, like, some girls, they can know a guy for not that long and have only hung out with him a couple times, and, like, they can be like, well, I'm so in love with him, and, like, they break up or something, and they're, like, really, really sad, and they're like, oh, I loved him. And I'm like, no, you didn't love him, because, honestly, out of everyone in your life, is he the one that, you know, like, if he wasn't in your life, would you, like, be terrible, like, would you be that much worse off, you know? Like, how much do you really know about this person? Like, do you honestly know them? Do you know every little detail about them? Can you, like, imagine your life, like, out them? Would you rather die than be with that person? And that's what I think love is. I think love is when you would do anything for that person, and if you really loved a person, you wouldn't have broken up at all anyway.
And if the other person or the significant other did break up with you, and you're still in love with them, you would still let them go, because for someone to be in love with someone else, they wouldn't care how much it would hurt them. They would just care for the happiness of the other, so they probably just let them go easily. Because they know that they're not happy in the relationship, and it's not fair for one person to be unhappy in a relationship.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's fine. Okay, so I'm going to tell you guys something from personal experience. If you're going to break up with someone who you've been with for a really long time, and if you really love that person, do not do it. Because, well, I'm not saying don't do it, just think a lot about it. Because, for one, if it's, like, especially in middle school and high school, because I had a really long relationship with someone, and I really loved the person. I don't really believe in saying I love you. Honestly, I did love that person. We were together for a really long time, and it was a really long time before we said it. and then I decided to just throw it all away. And I regret it so much, because I had doubts, like, before that, like, I was going to break up with the person, and then I was like, no, I'm not going to do it, and I didn't, and then, like, I was really happy, like, in between them, you know, like, in between the doubts, you know? And so, like, I feel like if I wouldn't have done it, I would have been happy again. So I'm saying don't do it. Like, really think about it, you know, because in the end, you may think that it makes the other person happier and that maybe that they shouldn't be with you, but you should really think it through.
Mm-hmm.
And the difference between infatuation and love is, I don't know, I can't really explain it.
It is really hard to explain infatuation overall because, for one, the person that is making you feel that way, usually you either feel really special and you feel like they treat you differently from others, and it's like, oh my gosh, she's doing this for me and blah 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 blah, and it's like you get all these feelings that you don't know how to explain. So I can see why she's having a hard time with like explaining it from.
But all I gotta say, girls, is if you think you're in love with a guy who you've had a crush on for a while, but you haven't been with the person, or you haven't known them for that long, I can't honestly say I think you're in love with them, because love is a big word, and we throw it around. Like, our generation uses that word way too much. I think we take love for granted, because people don't know what true love is. And people who say that they've had their heart broken doesn't actually know what it's like to have their heart broken, because they've never actually loved the person.
Mm-hmm.
And you shouldn't rush love. You shouldn't rush to be in love, because love is something that can't be rushed, you know? I think we want something so bad that we make it up in our heads because we want it so much. But if it was really, truly love, it wouldn't need to be rushed.
Just let things take its course.
Yeah, and if you have an infatuation, doesn't mean it's never going to turn into love. But you can't call it love when it's only infatuation. You need to give it time and let it grow.
And not only that, like, make sure it's not a one-sided thing.
Yeah.
So, because sometimes when guys find out you have a thing like that, they're going to get freaked out.
And here's my tip. If you're afraid to tell a guy that you have a really big crush on him, you know what, don't. Because if you're afraid of rejection or you're afraid he's going to treat you differently, here's my tip for you. If you think that he's the type of person that would stop talking to you because you admitted you liked him, do you really want him as a friend, or do you really want him as a boyfriend? You know?
Like, what if you guys got in a fight with something? Would you really want someone that would run away from you? And
Exactly.
that don't want to fix things with you?
Exactly. They're, like, truly friends with you, and, like, they're truly someone you want in your life, then you shouldn't be scared of rejection or anything. You know?
But, like, be careful, because you might really fall, well, not in love, but, like, you might have a really big crush on this guy, and, like, you might get hurt. I've done the mistake, like she mentioned earlier, to give him a lot of things, and did all these things for him, and, yeah, he was, and at one point, I did tell him over text, because he asked me, because I did mention it earlier, that through a letter, that I had feelings for him, but he asked me if I still did, and I did. But right after I pretty much told my feelings for him, he asked me for another girl's number. And yes, I did get hurt, too, because it was at a party that he asked for a girl's number that we went to a party
He just met at the party.
But my other friend, she's not here with us. I wish she was, because otherwise she would have been part of this. But she told me that...
I'll do a video with her.
Yeah. She told me that it's not worth it, because it's ridiculous that all the things I've done for him and how I've been there for him so many times, and I've tried telling him all these things to make him feel better, but yet he jumped right over my head for another girl he just met.
And someone's your first choice, and then you're their second.
Yeah, so that's why we have to be careful of what we do, because sometimes the person that you like might not turn out to be the person like you wish they would be. Because I had situations like with her too, because there's times where I'll try to make plans for movies, and I'll invite the guy I like, and I'll ask him first if he wants to come before I even invite them, and then they're my best friends. They're most important things to me, but he was the first to know that I was making plans for the movies, and I invited him first and asked what movie he wants to watch. But yet, he always say no, and I always invite him to things, so he never once has asked me to hang out with him.
Yeah, you know what also bugs me? Is when you open yourself up to a guy and he never tells you anything, or he knows something is wrong with you, but he never like wants to know what it is. You know?
And sometimes it's like with her, it's pretty obvious when she's upset. So
yeah, it's really obvious because I wear like my emotions on my sleeve. But anyway, we're running out of time, so we will talk to you next time. Bye.